I have this thought about beauty and current beauty practices. And to me, I'm beginning to see everyone starting to look the same. And I just want to yell, stop it. And I'm sure we can attribute most of it to the daily practice of Botox or fillers or some form of injections. And I genuinely feel like it doesn't make a better difference. In fact, I know the people around me that do that kind of stuff, it's just so obvious and you can tell when it's done. And I wonder at what point do we really need to start looking other than the way we look? And why is that so important? Why is it so important to look not like the way we look? So, first of all, what's the difference between hot and beautiful? Maybe as a guy, you can explain?
I'm not the one who can explain that. I'm not thinking that.
What's your definition of beauty?
I don't think there's a definition. I think this is something you see and recognize. I don't think you can define it. So you see it, even a simple proportion, you find it beautiful. Because probably it is going in tune, that's something universal or something that is really in harmony with the rest of the world. And something not beautiful, because, since the very ancient philosophies of the Greeks and probably before them, there was a very close relationship between beauty, justice, and truth. So it is like the same principle that is expressed in different realms. Beauty being the expression of truth in the form.
So when we're seeing everyone doing Botox and fillers and injections of all different types or different procedures, that's no longer the truth. That is no longer really the reality of who they are. Should they have just left it alone and embraced their truth? Would that at some point have been better received? Or is society just now getting used to the standards that procedures bring about? So now everyone feels like they have to raise themselves up to that standard.
I think this is mostly driven by a fear of aging.
But why are men doing it too? Now more and more, and you can see it. You can see someone who's been appearing on TV, let's say, or even in real life. You're seeing somebody regularly, and then you notice, he looks a bit stretched, or the eyebrows are kind of a little bit stiff, or whatever. And you now start seeing it in men, whereas before it was thought that men age better, but men have stopped believing that. And I don't know if that was just a saying, because I know a lot of women that have aged really well. My mother and your mother are beautiful at their ages. My mom's in her mid-70s and your mom is in her 80s. And it's remarkable what an inspiration they are. And I don't think they've ever had anything done. And you just wonder, where is this all going?
Yeah, there are certain countries like Lebanon where you have the impression of seeing the same person again and again because the noses are the same. The lips are the same. So
everyone's looking the same. And you mentioned Lebanon because we know that a lot of people go in that region, in the Middle East, to Lebanon to get a lot of plastic surgery done. That's just a fact. And I know of a lot of people that have actually gone there for certain procedures. So you wonder after a while, what is going on? Because you're right, because everybody starts having the same nose and they start having the same sort of, type of skin and the same type of contouring. And what happened to fit and healthy? What happened to inner beauty that is revealed, as you say, by just being truthful, honest, and sincere? All these things that shine from you like a light that can't be bought and that can't be injected. So is that becoming less appreciated in exchange for the appreciation of a quick fix through a injection or a nip or a tuck?
Yeah, I think again, it's being sucked into a society's view of what's supposed to be. The values that are upheld today is really to be young.
Yeah, what's up with that? What's up with not looking the age that you are? Why is it so important to look an age that you're not? What's the message you're trying to give? Like, look at me, I'm so fabulous at whatever age they are, 60, 65, 70, maybe 50, maybe 40, whatever age they start doing the really drastic stuff. Is the message supposed to be, I am this older age and look how fabulous I am? That's the win?
No, I don't think the appearance was so important in the past. You were aging according to the way you had treated your body, probably, and there's probably also some what is called genetic components. But today, the society doesn't give any value to someone who is old, and you know the way old people are treated. So there's a kind of fear, I think, to enter a certain appearance that is not only not, let's say, not praised, despised, but also to enter really into this phase of your life where you age and it shows.
But I think we're also buying into it.
Yeah. It's we live in a society and we are
We're being told.
bathed into its values, right?
We're being told how to feel about aging, but I don't think it's true. I think if you, as one gets older, no matter what age you are, if you just own it with confidence, if you just be it, and if you just are unapologetically the fabulous you that age inevitably brings out, it brings out the beauty, it brings out the wisdom, it brings out the richness of your soul. People just know that you just have something to offer, and that's the magnet. People gravitate towards you. Why not give that a chance?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's because there's probably some emptiness inside that is felt that you have to project outside what is not inside. Anyway, it's always beautiful to see someone who has aged in a certain way because we carry on our faces probably the way we lived. It is said that you deserve the face you have when you are like 60.
Yeah, I heard it was 50. I heard that by the time you
50.
reach 50, you have the face that you deserve, which I heard that from Sheikh Hamza Yusuf the first time. And I don't know is it a hadith? I don't even know where it came
I
from.
don't think so.
Yeah, it's a saying. And, that makes you reflect because it makes you realize that whatever life you've led, by the time you hit 50, it shows on your face.
Right, and there's also, if we come back to, let's say, Islam and the way Allah has created these bodies and the way they age, there is something very unsettling in general for many shuyukh or people who try to think these things through in changing your form. There's something like you are going, when you change the form of your nose, when you change the form of your lips, you are kind of meddling with Allah's will. And it's just not intervening to change your perceived beauty. There's something deeper there that many people have been, warning against. But it's being democratized, like everyone can do it and there's no problem. I don't know. It's like many things that this world is accepting as normal. There's probably something deeper to think through. Does that mean that you change the form of your body?
So what does it mean?
Well, there's a kind of non-acceptance. So I don't know how to phrase it exactly, but it's like a kind of little rebellion against natural processes that are willed by your creator.
And is it against oneself? One who does do things that are dramatically different from the way they were born. Is that going against themselves?
Well, possibly.
I mean, you can't own your own body and your own face anymore. That's really heavy. That's a really heavy place to be. And I wonder if you've broken certain boundaries of guidance, because how far does that go? To what extent do you keep going? Because it may work the first time or the second time, and then you just kind of get addicted to it. And we see cases like this in real life where people who just can't stop getting procedures done. And
Yes.
after a while, it just gets to be a bit much. So I wonder if they've just sort of lost a sight on certain boundaries that naturally exist on this. Like, no, let's just not go further than this.
Yes, it's a possibility, and I don't want to open a big can of worms, but we see people who are doing to their body changes, including the gender.
Yeah.
It can
They're
go-
mutilating themselves.
Absolutely. You have people who feel that they are not in a body that is appropriate to them, and they would really physically do harm to this body. So there is a fine line. I think it is to be thought through, but it is also up to each individual to draw the line. Right? So it's like many questions. It is left to the intelligence of people, but there's a high risk of going too far.
Naturally.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I would say that it is amazing how just changing a little detail in the face of someone, it's like you're facing someone totally different.
Yeah.
And this always struck me, right? So what is exactly this relation between the person and the body we inhabit?
Well, also, to be fair, we're living in times where standards have been set across the board on perhaps unrealistic levels. So it's very easy for even the most beautiful person that may have, just natural beauty to feel like, oh no, I've got to get something done. And I think those that perhaps don't feel they're of that category of beauty don't realize what they can do with their own natural abilities. Everyone has the ability to get more fit, to get more healthy, to get more connected to God. And I definitely say that's a beauty secret. When you can connect to God and when you can really embrace God and realize that his light is there for you to bask in, the beauty that emits from that connection is unlike anything I've seen. And I think you and I've seen a lot of people that have that kind of beauty because their love and their belief in God and their undying commitment to continue to know God. And, it may sound preachy, but it's really true. There is a beauty formula in there. There is this amazing glow that comes out of it. But, again, one has to ask, what is it that they're striving for? Are they trying to get hot? There was some talk show I was listening to, two men talking about, hot can be a woman that's not necessarily beautiful. She can just make herself hot. And then there's beautiful, where a woman can be unnoticeable. But if you really look, boy, oh boy, is she beautiful. And she's got the potential. If you just, did her up, and if she knew what makeup to wear, whatever, you could make her beautiful and hot. So there's standards and definitions that I think we all need to understand and ask ourselves, what are we striving for? Because being hot can be perhaps very vacuous, and beauty is a whole entirely different definition. So do we also, for women, do we blame the men? Because in this interview that I was listening to, one of them said, well, it's hard to look away from a hot woman. And are men maybe defining the standards of beauty for women to try to attain?
Well, I don't think that's true, because if you look in traditional societies, so the definition what someone was considered beautiful or attractive changed quite a bit. So if you look at paintings of European painters of the 19th century, they were painting nude women, and they were trying to really paint beauty. And these women would be considered fat today, for example. And their facial features would not resemble the ones that people who go into Botox try to reach. So what is interesting is that as far as the canon of beauties are concerned, marriages in traditional societies are arranged by mostly women and the mothers.
Yeah.
And they are the ones saying, this girl is not beautiful and this girl is beautiful for my son.
But how do we know that the son is not saying, Mom, if you don't bring somebody really hot, I'm not going to even give her a consideration? Yeah. So maybe the son is pulling those strings.
Yeah, but I don't think it's the son explaining to his mother what he considers to be attractive.
A mother always knows her son.
There's no difference really between the man and the woman when they consider this. So now there is many anthropological explanations. What is supposed to be attractive is someone who gives signals that this person is fertile, for example.
Yeah.
So there's a ratio between the breasts and the thighs. So these ratios, some people are interpreting feminine features of attraction as reflective of the natural ways of being able to have babies.
Right. So the woman with the hips is definitely a better match for the son.
Exactly.
Than the absolutely emaciated looking woman who may not have that same childbearing potential.
And so that's interesting, the reversal of this that we see in this last, 40, 50 years, where the ideal of beauty for a woman is not these features that would say that she can bear a child and deliver easily. It's really the anorexic woman who clearly cannot bear a child that is put as a model, right? Someone very thin, pretty, angular, with no shape,
right,
and no breasts. So,
which I think in real life would look sickly. I mean, maybe
Yes, but
they can play it up for the magazine covers, but if you actually see that in real life, that's not necessarily going to be anyone's idea of beauty
yeah, but
necessarily.
this is the model that is put forward, and many
Yeah.
women want to resemble these
Replicate
things.
that.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And that's, I think, where the problem is. So maybe we just sort of like bring it back to where it's real again. Maybe our standard of beauty should be based on a makeup-less look. Let's take a look at everyone out there, without makeup. And let's establish what beauty means. Beauty is then the light that comes out of your eyes. It's not even necessarily how dramatically wonderful your eyes look when you put liner and all this makeup on. Maybe it's just that natural glow that comes out of them, or maybe the way you brighten someone's life just by smiling. I think, the standards of beauty can be reset to a more appreciable level. I appreciate a beautiful smile. I think everybody does. I think it makes everyone's day when somebody has a beautiful smile and they actually know how to be sincere with their smile. And same with their look. If they just look with their eyes and they just know how to use, their eyes in sincerity, where did that go? I know that used to be the warmth in people's lives at one time. It's gone now. We don't even talk about people's smiles anymore, or their the glow in their eyes. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean the question of makeup is an interesting one. There is a huge push by the chemical industry to sell those products that are probably not good for neither your skin or the internal of your body, because everything will penetrate within the skin and reach your bloodstream.
But nobody really cares because they think it's just marginal. Whatever the impact would be, it's not going to really devastate their lives. So they're gonna continue to put on the lipstick.
No.
I mean,
I
we
agree.
all wear a little bit of color here and there.
So I agree, but the quantity,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it certainly has an impact on the liver and on the body. But all cultures have always used a little bit of makeup. So there's a difference between totally transforming the person and making someone totally, like, in a Hollywood movie, someone
Mm-hmm.
who in the morning wakes up, then spends an hour with making up, and then you have another person. And the makeup that is so subtle, but that is there to enhance natural features or to really, highlight, put some perspective. And this is probably something very different and doesn't probably need so much quantities. And
I think it was the UK. I have to check this, but I think somewhat a country banned advertisements that used unrealistic body types. So, the emaciated looking models were no longer allowed in certain campaigns. And I have to double check under what conditions that was imposed. And I wonder then, do we need representation of everything and every body type? Because that too can propel a problematic message. I, for one, think that it should be healthy and fit. I think if we're going to put these any bodies up in campaigns where we know people are going to be inspired or strive towards something like that, let's not make it unrealistic on both sides or unhealthy on both sides. So let's not make them really skinny and which can be very unhealthy, and let's not make them overweight, which is obviously very unhealthy too. So let's not celebrate obesity, and let's not celebrate the opposite. Let's celebrate whoever looks healthy and fit. And I wonder, are we now taking it to the other direction? We've seen a lot of controversy around big size models.
Yeah, but it's very far from... The first step is really to change beauty definitions and to make beauty not something objective, but something... And is it? That's a big question, right? But if it's related to truth, there must be something that is beautiful because it participates to the harmony of the world. This has always been a classical view. And now there is like a dictatorship of beauty according to rules that some people with interest are putting out there. So, yeah, for the past tens of years, it has been very anorexic models. And since the society is moving towards obesity more and more in an exponential way, in order to sell their products, they want now to sell as beautiful, fat obese people.
Which is such a dangerous message to
Which,
give.
which is in itself aesthetically is probably a matter of taste. I don't know how to put it, but from a health perspective, it's a disaster because someone who is obese clearly never really goes beyond 60 years old. And that's a shame that you would just pontificate and say that it is okay and healthy. It is not objectively.
Right.
So, but now in terms of beauty,
People are no longer educated about beauty. People are no longer told these things, like, obesity has its ramifications. After a certain age, you may struggle to live or breathe.
Yes.
These are real things. And I know people that are obese, that have remained obese, and they're now, let's say maybe 50s, and they're struggling, and I worry for them. I worry that, if they don't do something about their obesity, they may not be around.
so it's not only that you are not dedicated, it's that there is strong backlash if you say anything. And look at what happened to Jordan Peterson not long ago, a few months ago, when in a fitness magazine on the cover, they put some model in a swimsuit
Oh, yes.
that was pretty obese, saying beautiful. And he just tweeted, no, it's not beautiful. Jordan Peterson is a pretty emotional guy, but he
Yeah.
has a thick skin.
Yeah.
But he almost quit Twitter
Yeah.
because of the hate he received for a simple remark that it's not disrespecting someone to say objectively that's not beautiful. And
No.
don't erect this as a model.
Because it's so unhealthy, and if anyone tries to tries to achieve that look, it would just be equally unhealthy for them. So yes, I agree. Somebody should point out, okay, there's an obese model, but let's just say what it is. It's unhealthy to be grossly overweight.
He said beautiful, not unhealthy. But it's like
Yeah.
the two go together, right?
Of course. And the way society, I think, stigmatizes aging, I think that's where things have gotten ridiculous. I was listening to an interview by a model who said that by the time we're 23, we're considered old. And by the time we're 30, we're just washed up. And that's got to be a lot of pressure. So forget in the real world aging where you get to your middle ages or your, maybe mid 50s or your 60s, early 60s. You're supposed to still consider yourself as aging. And I think that's where people have all this messaging coming at them, and they get into panic mode, and that's why they turn to the injections and even the surgeries and whatever it takes to get their facelifts or to reverse the signs of aging. And A, not only is it dangerous, but B, they're buying into the stigma. And I think whatever age you are, you have to love your life because you have no choice but to be the age you are. I remember when I was 12, I couldn't wait to be 21. It's like you're never happy with the age that you are. And that's just it. I mean, a 23-year-old model is worried that she's going to be, soon out of a job because she's going to be considered old. So let's first reverse this age stigmatizing that's going on. I think own your age, be proud of it. I'm not opposed to doing things to look good. I think everybody, can look very good if they know how to do a little bit of makeup and, fix themselves up. And I think everybody has the right to do that and should do that. So I'm not an extremist in that way, but I do think that we need to make sure that we're not perpetuating this awful and unhealthy message of getting old. Even when, you're in your, let's say, older years, 80s and 90s, it's not the right message to put out there for the younger generations.